way, so I'm hopefully my internet is fixed now, so I won't have any more problems.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are there in the world, and welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. How you doing, Harris? Thanks for joining me.
Doing pretty well. That's I woke up feeling all right for this town going up in an array real quick, or disarray more so.
That's what we're going to be talking about, because it looks like, I mean, we can't say the strike is on because they've still got to vote in the morning, but let's be honest, the strike's on. I mean, it's I agree, virtually certain.
Yeah, I was with some SAG members yesterday. One of which who has kind of they sprained their leg the other day, so they have a little limp leg, and he's still getting ready to go on the picket line. So they're preparing.
Well, we'll just run the intro, then we'll crack on and get into it. Hey, Shelley's in town. Shelley. Right, well, first of all, I got to say, this hasn't happened before, as far as I'm aware, that the actors and writers have both been on strike at the same time.
43 years.
43 years. It was the 60s since last time it happened. So, bad. Hollywood was already pretty much at a standstill.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. A lot of productions are already shut down.
Oh, yeah. Living out here, it feels like it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's great, isn't it? In one respect, it gives the writers more ammunition. Now, all of a sudden, because this story a couple of days ago on Deadline about they're willing to let the strike go on till autumn, until basically wait for the writers to come in and say, well, I can't pay my bills, and come back cap in hand, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's what they were really willing to do. Majal has just made exactly that point. And that's harder with actors on strike as well, because you can't do anything. The other thing is, I mean, that they were hoping to get some sort of deal that would at least allow actors to do some jobs. Mm-hmm. Even that didn't happen. So we're actually looking at things like Comic-Cons and stuff, or personal appearances. Voiceovers is one of the things apparently they were going to try to do, for like, so that they could still do adverts and things, and allow the actors just to do bits and bobs like that. But it didn't happen. So I'm sorry, my nose is so itchy. So, so I mean, we really are at a point of like, dear God, what the hell? I mean, yeah. So we have got some stuff about Stargate. I have spoken to one guy that works very close to all this sort of thing. I can say that he does work at an agency, one of the larger talent agencies, and he's given me his opinion on all of this and what it means for Stargate, etc., etc. But let's have a chat about the strike first, because actually the SAG-AFTRA, the Deadline story today, I think, is very interesting. So when we come down and we start, obviously this is talking about everything that's happened. They've got to have a vote in the morning, and then we have sort of some of the statements. So Fran Drescher, the Actors Guild, negotiated in good faith and was eager to reach a deal with sufficient addressed performers' needs. But the studio's response to the union's most important proposals has been insulting and disrespectful of our massive contributions to this industry. The companies have refused to meaningfully engage on some topics, and others completely stonewalled us. Until they do negotiate in good faith, we cannot begin to reach a deal. We have no choice but to move forward in unity and on behalf of our membership with a strike recommendation to our national board. The board will discuss the issue this morning and will make its decision. So again, saying we're going to strike in the morning, basically.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. What do you think about just the way that statement is, or what you're saying? I mean, it's strong words.
Well, I got a couple thoughts about it, honestly. My first thought is it's a good thing she came out saying this, because, the day before the strike, she decided to fly to Italy and go to a party that, yes, she had booked for months and months and months, but taking selfies with Kim Kardashian while the rest of your industry that involves 150,000 members is about to go on strike. It's not the best for optics and stuff like that, of course.
No.
So that's kind of my first thought. I'm glad she said something that was at least strong worded for her own people
Mhm.
in that message. But at the same time, it's interesting. It it, it
Mhm.
it kind of implies a lot going forward, and
Mhm.
it
Well,
could
this
be
word of stonewalling basically says to me that there are certain aspects that they were trying to negotiate, and the studios have refused to even engage with them about it. And I'm thinking, AI is that
uh
what then stonewalling? Is it certain financial aspects? I mean,
It's okay. So what the little bit of information I have from the people that I know that are in these guilds, I was doing a play yesterday, producing it, so I got to talk to some of my friends that are in SAG and some that are in the WGA and SAG. And Netflix is apparently mostly the residual base. They just don't want to have they're they like their data encrypted. They don't want to actually have to share their data, much less residual. Because if they're not willing to share data, they're not probably going to pay you for the lack of the data they're even sharing. And everybody else is AI, is what I've heard. So it's Netflix for just data in general. They
yeah.
don't want to share anything, and then all the other studios they want AI. They don't necessarily want to replace, but that's of course what everybody's saying around town. Uh, it feels like they want to replace everybody, I guess. And
I think a lot of people I've spoken to, it's not even that they're scared about today. It's what they're scared about 5 years, 10 years, and they're saying, well,
exactly,
negotiations got to cover the next at least 5 years.
yeah, they're just saying they
I think
wanted to
4 or 5 years. I think the contracts last, something like that. Um,
roughly.
but then that's what they're worried about. They want these things to be done now, because they don't want to have this argument again in a couple of years when it's maybe too late. And they're arguing that actually some work, jobs might not have been lost to AI, but some work is being diverted away from a human because AI can do it quicker. I argue that this is an age-old argument that people argued like this when cars were invented and computers were invented and everything else was
Yeah,
invented. But I do also see the point that this technology is a little bit different and can be used in ways that maybe previous technology couldn't.
and
Um,
it's already been used like that. I mean, mostly by like YouTubers that have taken the time to like make Tom Cruise in this scene or make Keanu Reeves in this scene or
deep
whatever.
fake
But
stuff is, yeah, it's really bad.
if a YouTuber can do that, and all they need is 2-3 weeks of putting in this person's face, and from this scene, this
Yeah.
promo, this interview, whatever, if all they need is that, I mean, we could be deep fakes in a month, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
It's got to be, yeah. There's an element of you. We need. There should be an assumption that you own your own like image rights, but there just
Mhm.
isn't. In lots of ways, anybody can do that, and there's no legal repercussion, and that's just ridiculous. But let's see what the so the studios basically released a statement just after. We're
Oh,
deeply disappointed that the Studio Actors Guild has decided to walk away from negotiations. This is the union's choice, not ours. Damn those unions. In doing so, it has dismissed our offer of historic pay and residual increases, substantially higher caps on pensions and health contributions, audition protections, shortened series option periods, a groundbreaking AI proposal that protects actors' digital likeness, and more. Rather than continue to negotiate, the Studio Actors Guild has put us on a course that will deepen the financial hardship of the thousands who depend on this industry for their livelihoods. That to me is a call to everybody that's not an actor to say bad actors, bad. Your job now, your money, your finance are now being put at harm. We've tried, they won't listen. That that is one big. That's so political in everything it said there to me. What do you think?
oh yeah, no, it's the definition of politics right there. It's just it's kind of beating around the bush without beating around the bush. It's very straightforward, but also not.
Mm,
It's this is what we've tried to do, but it's not working. We want it to happen still, nonetheless, and now it's your job to do it instead of us, since they're not negotiating with us anymore.
yeah.
So, I guess they've tried to throw the ball in our court. As the populace, as the
This
people
is them
that
trying to
tend
get
to pay
public
them.
attention. They're trying to shift public attention, public opinion
Mhm.
against the writers and the actors. That's what they're trying to do, and that's very obvious.
Yeah. So as the public, do we tend to side with one or the other, or do we just try to stay objective and stay back and let
Mm,
them kind of figure it out themselves? Of course,
mm,
Twitter and now Threads and people like that, or people on those sites are going to be talking crazy and
mm,
hammering both sides into the ground, of course. But
mm.
it's,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, by the way, I know it's
figure out
9
the
a.m. there,
argument.
but I've had a long day at work, so I am enjoying a beverage. So sorry
It's
about that. I
9:30.
know it's rude.
With this news, I might catch up early. Kidding.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, I've been at work today, I've been on duty, and it's always a nightmare. But I've been thinking about this all day, and trying to get people to talk to me about it. So, mhm. Tequila flavored beer, yum yum yum. Anyway,
It's feeling anything.
so I mean, this really is it's crippled Hollywood.
Mhm.
One of the things I'd like to say, I spoke to a chap earlier, and he was saying that one of the things they've got concerns about is it's not just that when the strike ends, people think, well, they could just go to work on the Monday morning and crack straight back on. It doesn't work like that. They said a lot of these productions may take weeks to get restarted. They don't know what sort of states the sets will be in.
Mhm.
They may need to touch up and things. They don't know where people will be. Everyone has to sort of come back to. People are
That's
going
the thing.
home. But you just say, look, you've got to do things like get the food trucks back and things. It's just there's a lot of things that need to be done to get back. It can take months.
Oh yeah.
If
I
you're
mean,
filming abroad somewhere, you've then got to
oh,
get
good luck.
permission
Yeah.
to do it. And remembering this isn't just like actors in America. This is any actor that has worked in America and is a member of this union. So this is actually shut down projects everywhere. You know, it's not just Hollywood that's shut down. It's really lots of things. I mean, like Bollywood and stuff would be fine. They're not bothered. Even
Mhm.
the BBC has had to do certain things because certain actors have gone, I've got to go on strike because they're part
Yeah.
of SAG-AFTRA. So, but this isn't. If this was resolved next week, this is going to cause massive problems. This will put them back months at least.
Yeah. No, like you just said, not only do they have to just figure out the whole rehandling of a set, rebuilding of a set, or just reconstruction of what they might have torn down in a brief period. But they have to not only bring in new food trucks and do the contracts for those, do that per who's going to be here per day because there's different levels of food trucks and things like that per
Yeah,
different actors on set. Not even thinking about all the different contracts you have to get for the actor to get back on set because the
yeah,
second everything's back, everyone wants to get going. So who's going to get going first? Whose contract is going to keep them from being able to go to this project? Whose contract's going to keep them from going to this project? It's not. It's just not feasible for it just to go back just immediately, and it's
mm,
going to take a while, especially with how slow things have gotten. If it's come to this much of a standstill, to get that momentum and going again, to get the ball rolling is going to take something. It's going to take a big
yeah.
push.
Because I think the thing is, a lot of the sets will just be left. They're on sound stages and things.
Mhm.
If you're filming on location, then that's a problem because you've got to rebook the location. You've got to get any permits you need. They all need to be done again. So that could take a
Yeah.
little while. But he was saying that even the sets, because the sets aren't like they're not concrete, they're not stone, they're not steel and things. They're made out of basically plywood. And he said if you leave them for a couple of months, they fall apart.
Oh yeah, plywood and
They need
styrofoam just painted to look pretty.
Yeah, they need almost constant maintenance. So unless somebody's actually going in and doing that maintenance, which this what they may do, because I mean the guys that do that sort of thing, they're not on strike. So if the studios are willing to actually pay, but the guy was saying to me, but they don't because they just shut the thing down. Everyone goes home. Everyone. So and if you're on a short-term contract for a deal, that contract is just ended. So, I mean, it does take a lot to get these things restarted again. I'm like, I didn't even, he was listing off, honestly, he went for about 10 minutes just listing off all the different things. And like the food trucks was the one thing. He just sort of said, you have no idea how hard it is to get things like food trucks, to get things like this, because they don't, that there are certain companies that do it, that send these things to studios. But if they aren't busy, they want to be busy every day. So they're sent off to other places, they're sent off to whatever. So, because they never want to be sat doing nothing.
No,
So it can be
it's
quite hard.
expensive to bring them around too. Think about it, how many if they have 500 if it's a cattle call for set and there's 500 extras and there's 30 40 main cast and then another 80 main crew. That crew and the crew and the main cast might eat another set of food trucks, but then you got to feed the cattle crew. You got to feed the cattle call. That 500 group of actors, 300 group of actors, sometimes 800,000 actors. That's a lot of food that these people have to plan to bring in, and then there's a lot of planning and a lot of putting together that happens. And
I think the point of that is like there's a million things we wouldn't think about that need to be done.
Yeah,
but at this time,
hundreds of thousands of dollars per day on a set, and just it's those little tiny things that you just don't think about.
But I don't understand that this argument with the deadline saying that they're willing to wait. Right now, I understand that a lot of studios, they're struggling at the moment. They don't have the revenue they did. They're still very wealthy. Don't let me argue. I'm not going to argue that. I'm not arguing that these guys are on the breadline. They're not. But excuse me, they're not doing as well as they were. Some studios are actually in genuine trouble. I spoke to a chap who works in finance a week ago. He works in Hollywood in finance, and he said basically Paramount have got maybe 12 months, and then they're in trouble. The main reason being they owe a lot of money. It's about 15 billion at the moment. They don't have the revenue stream. They can manage the current debt, but the problem is interest rates are going up. And a lot of those loans need to be refinanced this time next year. And it says if interest rates are still high, Paramount might be in real trouble. And that could be one of the oldest studios in history. Could be going down the pan. You know,
it's one of the old big three or big four.
Yeah. So, I mean, they could go the way MGM. Nobody thought MGM 20 years, 30 years ago would become what it did and actually basically go bankrupt.
Yeah.
But it did. It had to sell everything. Paramount could be the next MGM. And that's a big problem. I mean, even Disney have got obviously enough other things that they will always be able to finance their debt, but they owe a lot of money.
Just while we're thinking about like SAG after just striking and stuff, something that I didn't truly think about, which just makes perfect sense, is the parks for Disney. They hire union people. All of those people are union actors a lot of the time.
Technically actors.
So well, it's not necessarily SAG. They hire SAG actors, but they hire there's like Avion or something like that. There's a couple of different other unions that are all like ancillary unions essentially, and they all coincide with one another. They're all striking as well. So that's kind of what happened last time, I think, for Iger to be kind of that big man to be like, all right, guys, let's make a deal. You know, I can't afford to.
We're actually hurting. This hurts. We need to stop it.
If it's an industry-wide strike again, the parks are going to be the big thing right there, I think.
Now, some of the studios, I could understand that they might go, you know what, we've just been through COVID. We had 2 years of that crap. We can't afford this. But actually, the streaming services did very well, thank you very much, out of COVID, because we were all stuck in the house and all we did was watch Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
We're now going through a cost of living crisis, and people are turning off some of those services, but they had very good 2 years. I don't see how the studios think. Well, there seems to be like a game of chicken, basically. Who's going to go skint first? And they think the writers are. But this is hurting their bottom line because only stuff that is actually in the can is going to be new on our screens for the next 6 months. Editors and things can still be working. But if it's not in the can, it ain't coming. We're going to have a lot of reality TV very shortly. And a lot of reruns very shortly. You know, and Netflix and stuff, they just won't have anything new for a bit. They'll bring more old stuff on, like they do anyway.
Or they're going to bring in a lot of foreign content because Netflix is a lot of foreign. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, which I am horribly dyslexic, so I can't really read a lot of North Korean TV.
South Korean.
Yeah, if South Korean, sorry, North Korean would be great, wouldn't it? Though?
I was about to say, well, what are you watching in Pyongyang?
I'm watching a bit of North Korean television, and now I feel I need to fight against the bureaucracy of my own country or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I've been brainwashed by. I want to go. I want to go get shoes with big heels, and because that's what he wears. Anyway, so. This war of attrition, though, that the studios seem to be going into, is it because they're willing to take a short-term hit for long-term gain? The thinking being they have to give as little money to these people as humanly possible because we can't afford it? Or is it literally just more greed, basically. I'm just saying that they just think we've got so much money, we can outweight you. Fuckers, go on, do what you want to do. We can outweigh you.
Yes. All of the above. But also, I think the greed aspect is we think it's God. I want to be hired by the WGA one day. I have to preface this every freaking time, but this is not a good time for a strike. And I feel like God, okay, yeah, don't. I might be screwing myself over in the future a little bit here, but
nobody watches this channel. Don't worry about it.
Oh, but they might. That's the thing. But
well, just be honest. But
I feel like the writers are not necessarily just as greedy, but asking for more pay at this moment is being greedy, and it's being too self-grandiose, self-assured, because these studios are falling apart. They're all falling apart. And for this industry that already pays better than just about every other industry, I don't know if it's in the writer's best interest to be pay us more and stuff like that. Same thing with the actors. And yes, most of this is for the working actors, the working writers who do not get paid like most people get paid. But that's the thing. We don't need to be asking for more pay. We need consistent pay. That's the biggest difference, I think, is where the greed really comes in, and where Hollywood feels and looks and seems out of touch is give us more money. Give us more money. Hey, California's broke as hell. Nothing's working in the state, first of all. And then you come into the city and stuff, and you see this happening. Everything's at a standstill. It just kind of feels dystopian in a lot of ways. and I feel like it's greed on both ends of the table, both sides. And they're different types of greed, of course, because the studios are like, hey, well, we don't want to pay you that much, obviously, but if they would be willing to pay consistently, it'd be a whole different, I guess, scenario, and we'd be talking about it differently instead of, they're pitting one another against each other and all that. It'd be a conversation and a compromise, much more so, I guess. But it's screwy. In saying that, I'm not against the writers. I think the studio needs to do. I feel for the writers. Like I don't think this is the right time because of the global recession. It's a hard time to be asking for more money. But we do want to nip it in the butt. Where in 5 or 10 years, we don't know what jobs are going to be like. We don't know what the landscape of anything is going to be like with AI. And if people can deep fake you right now, they're going to be able to deep fake you a hell of a lot easier in 5 years, even easier in 10 years. So it'd be nice to go ahead and nip that in the butt and have it where actors can continue to hone their craft. Yeah, I think that's the focal point, or should be.
With the deep fake, right? Is that I mean, I think video of deep fake, you can sort of tell it's not. You know, you can still tell it's not quite right. But I mean, stills of deep fake for a couple of years now have been completely indistinguishable. And remember, this isn't like big evil corporations deep faking people. This is idiots at home with a laptop.
This is people as smart as Matt with computers just doing stuff. I don't think Matt's doing it, of course, but it's just people that are that intelligent with computers that are just capable. It could be.
If ever a video appears of me doing anything embarrassing, Matt did it. Or I was drunk. Or I thought it was funny.
All the above.
Or all of those things. Chances are I probably thought it was funny. Yeah, all of my stories start with either I was drunk and this happened, or I thought this was so funny at the time, and this happened. I tell my son some of them, and they're just like, "Nice one, Dad. Thanks."
What murders?
You streaked round where naked? Like, it was so funny at the time. That was drunk. Anyway, so I did speak to this guy today again, as I said, that works at one of the larger talent agencies. And I just sort of said, well, look, what this is going to do for Stargate and other projects. There's a couple of Star Wars projects. There's a couple of other things. Loads of sci-fi. There's a couple of movies that we're supposed to start filming. I've been really excited about the He-Man live action movie, and it looks like that's dead. I'm dying. No, He-Man is the greatest hero of our generation, and they needed a live action movie. Damn it,
Dolph Lundgren.
So no, that was terrible. But you needed a live action movie. I needed to take the bitter taste of the Kevin Smith cartoon out of my mouth.
Yeah, that's why I made the kind of noise. It was like, I love Kevin Smith, but that just wasn't. I couldn't.
I still watched it twice. but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I can see what he was trying to do with it. He was trying to do something that felt like the original, but it was just, yeah. So I don't know. I was talking to him about this, and they were saying, like, so where does this put us with a lot of these problems? And he said basically it's the Wild West now. It says they've never known anything quite like this. They thought this was sorted 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I even think I even reported it on the channel that a lot of people, they thought this was sorted. Or they thought it was about to. They thought there was a big breakthrough, so they were like, right, let's get going. Let's get a few things up and running. Let's start making some money again. And then after 2 or 3 days, they realized.
Well, I mean, it was still pushing. People were still pushing a lot. Like, we just got. I think one of the things that people haven't realized is, that that the Deadline article with the I don't remember which producer or big head of whatever company said that last statement that we read through, but I think, like we were saying, Iger wants to kind of nip this in the bud in a lot of ways, like he did last time, or he's about to, and people with Parks or Universal and Comcast will kind of be in that same boat. But oh God, I brain fart real quick. That's what I was thinking. Deadpool and Wolverine, just releasing those costumes online this past week was a good way to get studios kind of in people's good graces again. And now that SAG-AFTRA is striking, there's no Deadpool on set right now. That's done.
From tomorrow, I think everything's shut down. Yeah. I mean, like the new Daredevil series. I'm excited as hell about that, but it's been shut down for 3 or 4 months now. They shut it down early on because it was being picketed literally at the gate. So I mean, and I'm so excited about that. And now instead of early next year, it's going to be the end of next year.
Yeah,
it's like
at the earliest.
Yeah, assuming this is all resolved reasonably quickly. So anyway, I was asking him and said, so what is their opinion? Like I said, he works with quite a large talent agency. What are they doing? What are they planning? What's their thinking? And he basically said they're assuming now that any project, regardless of stage of development, is at risk. So they are basically planning for anything to get cancelled. There is no assumptions that anything, even if it's filming, will be allowed to restart. The longer the strike goes on, the more likely it will be that it'll just be more cost effective to shut stuff down and start something, maybe potentially start something new. Or at the end of the day, the longer things go on, the more costs cut in, more savings the studios are going to want to do on the other end of it, and they will blame the strikes. They've already been blaming the strikes for loads of projects getting cancelled. The writers' strikes. Now they've got 2 strikes they can blame. What do you think of that first? Because we're including Stargate in that.
Oh yeah, sadly, yes. I mean, yeah, it's happening. It's going to happen, I guess, and we just gotta hope that it's the shortest amount of time possible. And I don't know how to. I mean, they even had federal mediators come in there, so I don't know how exactly this timeline can be pushed forward from just the public perspective, or even from someone that lives in this crazy town. I think it's just too high up. I don't know if we really have the wherewithal to push anything forward, I guess. As sad as that is, usually you're all right, well, push a stock price down here, or someone will say boycott this or something, and like 2% of a stock price goes down, and a company's like, all right, let's do this or something like that. I don't think anything like that's going to work this time around. We just have to kind of wait it out. And I know that kind of sucks to say as an answer, but it's kind of the point we're at.
Yeah. I like saying he made the point that, well, he sort of said, look, consider this a clean slate now. Whatever we thought was true before, it may or may not be true when this all ends. But the one thing he did say was, you don't want executives having time to think, because it's the last thing they will want to do. And he actually says we actively, so when a new project starts, we get people in quickly. And it says there is an active thing on their part that they want to do things as quickly as humanly possible before anybody has time to go, and have second thoughts. And this is the ultimate second thoughts.
Yeah.
They are going to basically potentially have months looking over every project they've got, thinking about it.
Just sit and just dwell.
Yeah. Secular monkeys have said, how do these businesses, how does these strikes affect other businesses? The thing is, you got to remember, Hollywood's industry, a big chunk of the industry around and all America, and I said this is going to affect the West as well, because if you've got any project, if it's filming in America, but you've got an American actor in it because you want an American actor because that would sell in America better, that actor's going home.
Mm-hmm.
So there are projects that this is completely screwing. I also believe that any actors that are members of the union because they've worked in America, I think they have to get like dispensed. They have to like get like a thing to be allowed to continue working, even if they're not working in America. So like a British actor could be a member of this union and technically supposed to strike, even if they're working over here. They have to sort of like write a letter and like ask, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, don't quote me on it, but I think if you're a member, you have to like at least show that like you're with everybody once at some point. You either have to go like on one of the organized strike days and go and actually strike, or you have to send them a letter or do big old social media post or something like that. Not positive, but
yeah.
Pretty sure.
But I've been saying basically, Dave, yeah, the strike is kind of worldwide. Any actor that's worked in America needs to be a member of the guild, so technically has to strike. But I at the end of the day, like foreign actors who have become a member of the guild so they can work in America, though, it's not quite the same. But I think it's more like if they want to be able to work in America in the future, they need to actually really seriously consider what they do. And if they don't strike, then they could have their membership sort of revoked, and then they won't be able to work in America. So it's complicated. It's not a clear cut yes or no. The one thing then, okay, so we thought, and we've said loads of times, Stargate. So we'll focus on Stargate because that's what we actually care about. Let's be honest. We care about all these other things as well, but we do care about Stargate.
Stargate's like that big round circle right here.
There's a reason why this is a circle. Yeah,
of course.
So, we thought we might get an announcement at San Diego Comic-Con. Where would you put the possibility of that now?
In the negatives, I'm possibly.
Yeah.
If I had to give it a something, I'd give it like a 8% chance. I don't even know if I can give it a double-digit chance. I'm gonna give it an 8%, just because that sounds like a decent number.
I guess, like I say, my understanding is the actors can't even do appearances like that because they tried to negotiate something to say they could, and it failed. Right. I would argue as well that this to talk about a bit more, this strike affects actors, any actor, right? And 95% of these actors, maybe not that high, but a good percentage of these actors we've never heard of, right?
Oh yeah,
so working-class actors. It's everyone, and they haven't got millions of pounds in the bank. To be honest, it's fine for Charlize Theron to walk up and down that thingy with a banner going strike, 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 because she's got millions of quid in the bank. Vin Diesel can shout as much as he likes. He's not going skint anytime soon. A lot of actors are actually live month to month, they're going to be in trouble very quickly.
My entire friend group.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a real thing that, like I said, it's the actors you've never heard of that are going to struggle with this. And they're the ones that are going to be hopefully shouting the loudest in a month or two. Because, I mean, completely selfishly, I just want them to get back to work.
Well, they want to get back to work too. Everybody kind of wants to get back to work. That's the thing. It's, I guess, finding
to do it, which is fine.
Yeah.
No, we need a good deal, and it is worth a bit of short-term pain. That is me being just completely selfish. David has sent us a super chat, which is very kind of you, sir.
Thank you.
Always, great content. I appreciate the daily work you put in to keep Stargate is hyped up. Woo, Stargate! Yeah, we do. We try, even if we get yelled at occasionally for. But anyway, we'll move away from that. But no, thank you so much, Dave. That's really appreciated. So yeah, Stargate, San Diego Comic-Con, we've been saying for ages, they were in two minds before the actors striked about whether they would do that, right? Whether they were going to announce it at San Diego Comic-Con. But another question for you. Even if they did, no actors will be on the stage. If we're right, I have heard conflicting things about this. I have heard that actually some actors are allowed to do personal appearances, but then there's this story 2 days ago about how they were trying to negotiate to allow actors to do it. So I'm not 100% certain actors aren't allowed to do personal appearances, but I don't think they are.
If they're not SAG members, then they may be able to, of course. Which Stargate doesn't hire like huge people all the time. Which they do a good chunk of the time. Which those people are definitely SAG members, but there could be some Stargate folk that aren't SAG. I'm not positive, but that would probably be the only way that might happen, I think. But any of your heavy hitters are SAG members, I think.
Film in Canada, fill it with Canadian actors and pretend they're American. You can't do that. Or you could get some good actors, British actors. You can do that. So,
yes.
We'd all be the villain. Everybody would be a villain. Everyone, or an egghead geek. That would be, everybody would be an egghead geek or a villain. Because that's all British people ever play. But yeah, I mean, no, seriously, I don't think there's any chance of this. Because like I say, they would have nothing. The other thing is, what would they even announce? We're going to do it. Great. When? Well, no one can write a script. And even if they can, no one can appear in it.
And that's the thing. Even if they, because they could still be working on the script, just completely unofficially at this point. But if they go on stage and say, we have a script, and then anybody asks, well, when did you do that? And then they say, oh, well, during this strike, maybe, they're going to get some bad press just from that, just from timeline purposes. The only way, of course, I'm just this is not going to happen. So do not clip this and go, oh my God, this is going to happen,
Just 1 second. Captain Caveman was my favorite cartoon when I was a kid. I fucking loved it. Favorite cartoon. Thank you very much for the contribution, sir. And I cannot, unfortunately, turn off the heat.
I was in Texas 2 weeks ago, and damn, it's hot. It's like 105 degrees on like your cool days.
Did you take off all your clothes? I am getting so hot.
I don't know if I can talk about that on here.
You gits have air conditioning. We have nothing. So when it gets hot here, we die. I mean, literally, British people are like, we can't. When's the rain coming back? We can't do this. It's like
you're on an island. Go for a swim.
Yeah, no, we can't do that. Have you seen the state of our water? We
no,
can't.
I haven't.
We'll also die. Industrialized. But yeah, we had a heat wave a couple of weeks ago and it was very unpleasant, and we've had rain for like a couple of weeks and we're like, this British summer's back, and then it's supposed to go hot again next week. We're like, oh god damn it.
You're like, it's just gonna be humid at that point.
Humidity. I hate humidity. But yeah, I like I said, this guy that I was talking to was basically saying that for what, like this clean slate, blah blah blah, but they can't announce it at San Diego Comic-Con.
No. The only thing they could do is if they have Brad Wright pop out there and be like, we're doing this, or Mark Fergus and Hawk Otsby hop out there and be like, we're doing this, or whoever.
Nobody would care though. Nobody would. No, if they got Brad Wright on, Gators would go freaking crazy. For one, it'd be like Brad's back, baby. But we know that Brad isn't involved. If they put Mark Fergus and Hawk Otsby up there,
I don't think that'd be exciting. Yeah.
There's no excitement. So, I mean, the only point of doing it at San Diego Comic-Con is to build excitement and to make a spectacle out of it. They can't do it.
Well, I mean, all hypothetical, of course. This isn't even hypothetical. We just kind of gave the hypotheticals, but we talked about it a little bit before the stream hopped on.
It's true. Yeah. Dragon Con, they're going to be at.
I saw that.
That's only the first few. There's a few other. There's quite a few. There's 5 or 6 Stargate actors. Assuming at this point now that the strike's done by then, or they won't be.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean they've cut a lot of. Basically, San Diego Comic Con's dead because the assumption is that we know the strikes aren't going to be done by then. It's next week. But other cons have started to try to book people in. But actually, this news, if this goes on a month, even those cons are going to be start going, oh crap.
Yep. I mean, maybe 2 months out, they're safe, but anything closer to that, there's just start planning a new plan, because you're gonna have to replan everything, not rework a plan. It's replanning a whole new plan at this point.
I mean, San Diego Comic Con is going to be just the dull as dishwater. I mean, it's just going to be. One of the things they're actually doing is that they're doing a Babylon 5 panel, and J. Michael Straczynski is going. And there was going to be a couple of the actors, but I'm thinking now JMS is going to be stood up there on his own.
Is he part of the Writers Guild? Is he even allowed to do that?
I think it doesn't matter because it's an appearance, right? So I think he can do that. Writers, presenters, directors, they can still present because they're not an actor.
That makes sense.
Acting or appearing in that way or doing an interview isn't part of it. This is where I think I'm not 100% certain actors aren't allowed to appear at Comic-Con. But if they're not, well, for one, if they are allowed to appear at Comic-Con, why aren't they? At San Diego, there aren't many that have lined up at the moment. No one big. No one's like that I would consider like active is actually on the list. But also, I mean, I don't think they can. But writers and stuff, they can because they're not an actor.
Yeah, so they're not paid for their face most of the time.
So is my understanding. So yeah, JMS might be up there on his own to promote his new movie. And I'm almost like, it's a bit crap.
At that point, you just kind of want to postpone the panel.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, but he's got the DVD coming out. He's got to.
Oh, damn.
So the DVD comes out literally at start of August, I think. So they've kind of got to do it.
And at that point, you can't even have actors phone in or anything at that point. There's nothing like that. There's no zooming in or...
Yeah. And I know a couple of people that are trying to set things up for Comic-Con, and they're saying, like, it's all going to be sort of like, they're trying to do sort of like interactive stuff. And it's sort of like, it's like, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same.
But part of me is okay with that, just not for the film aspect, because I love film, and that's like the thing I'd be going to Comic-Con, and that's why that's really the main reason I go to Comic-Con is all the film stuff. But
yeah,
is this going to allow it to go back? I think we mentioned it a while back. Is this going to actually allow it to be a Comic-Con again, where maybe we can have a movie con or something next year? Like let the comics be comics.
It's supposed to be a little bit.
Yeah, because it is not a Comic Con anymore. It's a comic character, or maybe this is a big enough franchise to start doing comics about kind of con versus an actual Comic Con.
Yeah,
I think that's the only upside.
My understanding is, and I'm not 100% certain on this, so please don't quote me because I've heard conflicting. Even people in the industry are not 100% certain, which is why they have to send out loads of advice just before when, like, the strike will happen. Basically, the first thing that happens is they'll send loads of advice to all their members. You can do this, you can't do that. And we'll have a bit more clarity, I think. But as I said, if they were allowed, we'll know next week because things like Tom Cruise will have to stop doing interviews and stuff for Mission Impossible and any other films that come out. There just won't be any. But I would have thought, though, I would argue, I'm not acting, so why can't I do it? I'm not acting. But you're promoting acting work? I don't know. I don't really know why they're not allowed to do it. But if they're not,
I think it's like an optics thing. It's just part of their personal brand coincides so much with the brand of the film that they're in or the TV show that they're in at that time that I guess it can be conceived in a way, as at least writing contractually, like, oh yeah, you can't do this because you just doing this would push up against whatever, I guess, the strike saying or whatever the studio wants you to do or whatever, etc. 30
degrees and up, which is about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 86, nearly 90, is not perfect. It's death weather. And we push 37 degrees in this state last year, and we've never had heat like that ever in this country. We're not built for it. No, you're built for it. You're a Texan. You can accept it. I'm built for rain. All of my clothes are rain-related clothes.
Oh, I mean, well, yeah, we are super rainy, but we're just swampy, so we just accept the rain. We don't really use umbrellas too much. We're just kind of there.
I mean, I'm not built for that. I'm like, how many pairs of shorts? The weather gets warm. I'm like, how many pairs of shorts have I got? I don't even know. It's been 2 years since I've got them out.
That's what the river's for. You go hop in it, but I don't know if you want to hop in your rivers and swim in those. Like, I don't know how that works out there.
Any actor that isn't a member of the Screen Actors Guild can do whatever they want. The problem is the Screen Actors Guild is pretty much necessary to do a lot of work in America. So everybody's a member pretty much of the Screen Actors Guild.
Your production is either a SAG production or it is not a SAG production. There's no in between. I mean, and you can hire SAG actors to work non-SAG jobs, but they have to go through loops and hurdles and have to like sign weird contracts to be able to do so. And then vice versa, you can have non-SAG actors work on SAG jobs, and that's pretty straightforward and easy. But after 3 days on a SAG job, if you're getting paid SAG level, you get SAG vouchers. And I'm one voucher away from being eligible to be a SAG member. And at that point, you become a must join. Cheers. But yeah, you become a must join, and you don't necessarily have to go pay that $3,300 entrance fee to become a member of the union, but you're encouraged to at that point. And everything you work in, it tries to not necessarily force you to do it, but if your hand could be forced, they would be forcing your hand essentially because they want you to be a SAG actor. They want more people in the union, and most film, TV, actual legitimate like projects with narrative tend to be SAG. There are very few that are not. Short films, student projects, things like that, even those can be SAG. A lot of the times they're not, but those can even be SAG. The non-SAG things tend to be commercials. And even with like giant companies, those are a lot of the time still SAG commercials because they're hiring SAG actors. Sam Jackson's not going on Capital One and saying whatever, I forgot the little jingle or whatever they say, have it your way or whatever. That's not it, but whatever the Capital One jingle is. What is it? Money in your. That's gonna piss me off. It's.
I don't know. We haven't got Capital One here.
Oh, I'm a Capital One member. I should know it. It's like put money back in your wallet or something like that. I don't know. It's obviously a lot more catchy than that. But he can't go on there and do those commercials right now. It's none of these people that are contractually obligated to commercials. The AT&T girl can't go on and do a bunch of AT&T commercials right now. And Flo from Progressive, she's not going to do a bunch of commercials right now. They're SAG members, so they can't. Maybe if Jamie from the Progressive commercials, Flo's little second in command, if that guy's not a SAG member, he could kind of take over for the next couple like episodes or whatever they count their commercials as. But yeah, if they're SAG,
I'm available.
Narrative. There you go. Take over.
I've got some weekends free if you want some adverts done or you just want a bit of acting done.
So do they have Progressive over there?
No.
We'll come to the USA. I'm British, Jamie.
What is that? A bank?
No, it's insurance.
No, we don't have that. We have Prudential. Does that count? But yeah, I can act. I can do sad. I can do angry.
Well, he's usually upbeat. You got to take over for the American Jamie.
I can do upbeat. I can do confused.
Actually, those are the two that he tends to be, confused and upbeat. He's just kind of happy.
Range of emotions I've got. I can but yeah, the world.
Secular Monk did just say this. Yes and no. It can't be a large scale SAG stage production, but it can be smaller scale. And then even that's iffy because if it's like currently the play that I'm producing is a Hollywood Fringe Festival play. There's like an Edinburgh Fringe Festival. There's a whole bunch of Fringe festivals across the globe, and they're great for smaller kind of plays. But if you're a play, oh come on, the words troupe, like a troupe. That's not what I'm thinking, but essentially a troupe. If you're part of a play concerto, a troop of people that are doing stuff all the time, then it's likelihood of some of your higher ups or just castmates or people that are in the troop ending up being SAG members and making that a SAG set are pretty high. So those aren't even able to do things. So it has to be like truly independent, small level theater productions. And that's like still iffy, but that's like it. It's that or non-union work on commercials. And if you're a union member, you cannot do non-union work on commercials. So it's iffy because the commercials are iffy in that aspect of things as well.
They were actually trying to negotiate a little while ago to allow indie films and things to carry on, and just to get stuff going. Because the argument was basically that these productions make so little money, and they have such little budget. If they shut them down, they'll just die. They just won't come back. They can't afford to. So try not to kill them. That wasn't even agreed. So, I mean, I would actually argue there's going to be a lot of stuff that is like creative, and because a lot of the really creative stuff is the stuff that makes no money at all.
Oh yeah,
loses money horrendously, and all that stuff is going to really struggle. It really is, because it's a double hit. All of these productions have just got over COVID, when they were basically told to go home for 2 years. They get over that. We just start getting to a place where we're getting going again, and they're all being told they've got to go on strike. It's only, but the bonus is only stuff that's not SAG is going to be going. So you could go and get a brilliant part in some play at the moment just because the theatre's shut. So they go, we've got to put something on. So you got to pop it, and then I could go in and do my Confused. That's thoughtful. Damn it, that's thoughtful.
Well, that's even like the harder part about it is maybe I couldn't. Because if I do that, that means I'm not showing solidarity with SAG, or that means I wouldn't be showing solidarity with whoever, which means once I am eligible, why would they take me at that point? At that point, you're almost blacklisted a lot of times. Obviously, I'm a little fish, so hopefully they don't do that. But like, they'll blacklist any name, because nowadays it's you type a name in and it's there. So
I'm not sure that's true. Everybody, I'm not sure that surely a lot of the actors, the performers that do like stuff at Disney and stuff, a lot of them are just kids in costumes. They're not going to be members of SAG.
They're not kids.
All the stuff that actually get up and talk, and they could have a load of big kids running around in Mickey Mouse heads, though, couldn't they?
No, yeah. By kids, it's like 18 to 25. Like that's like.
I'm 45 years old, mate. If you're less than 30, you're a fucking kid.
Well, of course, yeah, but it's kids in the sense where they're legally able to do whatever the hell they want with them. And that sounded bad, but
Disney,
they're able to do whatever they want with the kids that work for them, job wise at least.
No, like slaves, let's be honest.
I don't think everyone's union members that works at the park, at any of the parks, but parks are hard jobs. Most of them are, I think.
Yeah. If there are like a princess or something that's up and actually doing speaking and actually needs to, they do their parade, don't they? And I can see they're just pretty people, and they just say hello to the kids. And they're just dressed up, and they're not going to be like actors and actresses. But I know some people do this as careers. I mean, there's not just
totally
Euro Disney. It's just a bunch of their part-time jobs, don't they?
But those are the ones that are in those ancillary unions. Those are those ancillary union ones.
But I would just get the janitor dressed up in a Mickey Mouse and go, just don't hit anyone. Go and do the thing, and just go, Mama, Mickey, and run around, but don't hit anyone, and just think nobody will know the difference.
But they would, though, I guess, because it's just
college kids on apprenticeship.
Some are. Because I one of my friends, she was on season 2 Euphoria with me. She what's it called? What's the little? It's not the Jungle Cruise boat, but it's like it's like the miniature cruise line that goes through like the little river around there. She's the captain for that. So she's and does all that kind of stuff. And it's intense. She has to be a member of a couple different things, I guess. But like it's not intense in like your typical intensive, like this is hard work, but it is hard work, and like Disney's anal about everything. Like you know,
I've heard
they've literally someone drew someone wanted to put Mickey Mouse on their kid's tombstone. Their kid died at like 8-10 years old or something, and they wanted to put Mickey Mouse on their tombstone, and Disney sued them. Like, kids have drawn Mickey Mouse.
They did put Mickey Mouse on the tombstone,
and that's why they sued
them and forced them to remove it. So the parents were like, "Are you seriously going to make me remove my dead baby's tombstone?" And Disney went, "Yes."
Yep.
You bastards.
So that's that same company running that, and that's why a lot of that, and I think that's why those career people that tend to work for Disney tend to join unions, because we could be screwed over at literally any second of any day. And like, Disney's just anal about everything they do. They want it to be perfect. They don't want you to do something that might look bad for the company. So they have so many like strict little standards that you have to adhere to. And like it was getting really hot out here. Of course, it's not that hot because we don't have humidity out on the West Coast. But when I go back to the swamp, I get reminded very quickly. But out here, it is 90, 95 degrees, and people are like, "Oh God, it's so hot." It's not too bad for me, but generally out here, people think that's pretty damn hot. But they're not allowed to take their jackets off unless it's 90 degrees, I think, outside. So you have to be wearing a full blazer unless it's above 90 degrees, which is BS, because you're already sweating like a pig at that point. And you know, you're usually wearing like a white kind of fluffy shirt under, so you're just sweating through that shirt after you take a blazer off. And that's for guys and girls. So
I just feel like they're going, because, "Hello, children. Yes, I know I stink. How are you, lollipop?" No, not from lollipop. That gets you into trouble. But yeah,
that sounded like a little chitty bang bang right there.
Green smoke and green methane coming off me. But I would just I'd be unconscious, perfectly dressed, unconscious on the floor. It's only 28 degrees. Get up. It's too hot for me. I'm British.
Laura said this a minute ago. It doesn't necessarily coincide with all of this, but I think Bob Chapek gets a bad rap. I think Iger might be the reason Disney's in a lot of the bad stuff they're in right now, and Chapek is the biggest scapegoat possible for them because he was there for 2 years. He was there to change some stuff up, but all of this stuff was already being changed by Iger prior to him, and he just kind of furthered Iger's agenda, and now Iger's back, and of course he gets 2 more years, which makes sense because you want that stock price to go back up, and if you keep changing heads of studios, your stock price is not going to continue to go up. People are going to be like, there's no consistency over here, and there's really not, and I think that is more Iger than anybody else. Don't kill me, Disney, but like, I think the biggest problem with Iger is he's an amazing businessman, but he really doesn't give a shit, excuse my French, about the actual properties at hand. He cares how much money they make. He cares how much they're worth, but he does not care about the actual projects at hand. And you can tell. And I think that's the biggest issue. He's the guy that greenlit Phase 4 of Marvel, not Bob Chapek. Bob Chapek just happened to be there as it started. Like, this is Chapek's their scapegoat, and I think Iger's really to blame for a lot of this. I still respect the man a lot. I just wish he loved the medium he chose to be an executive for. That's all. But yeah,
I think the top person though in these sort of things needs to be a businessman, and they need to be ruthless. Jennifer Salke, top of Amazon. Some people have turned against her recently, saying, "Look at these terrible projects she's done." And we were talking yesterday, weren't we, on your channel about how Amazon seem to be trying to grow up. They seem to be trying to rein in some of the spending and be a bit more sensible. They've been throwing money at things, and then now they're actually trying to be a grown-up studio.
Yeah,
great. But Jennifer Stalky needs to be a business lady. And one person, in this video I watched with the Popcast guys, they were saying, "Well, look at Citadel," and I would actually argue. At the time, I actually said, yes, Citadel probably did bomb. I think it didn't do well for how much it cost, but actually it did well enough. And I've only watched half the series, and I got bored of it after a minute, and I stopped watching it. So I was like, it failed. I didn't even question it. But actually looking at it, it's just been renewed for a second series, and apparently around the world it did very well. It just didn't do great in America. So they've renewed it for a second series. But Jennifer Salke, from a business point of view, has got the Russo brothers have come into my office. And they've got a project and they just did all that great stuff at Marvel. Here's 250 million quid, crack on. That's
and the Gray Man
decision. Yeah, and it's a sensible business decision. It's what I would do. If the Russo brothers turned up and said we want to make something for Amazon, I'd be like, yeah, yes, please.
I would have been a little more hesitant, just because everything they've done since Gray Man's been their most successful venture, but Extraction 1 and 2 have been there's not really a way to gauge how
Extraction 1 I get wasn't great. Extraction 2 is a brilliant movie, and apparently
I like it a lot. And I'm not saying
for top of Netflix movie stream for a good few weeks after they were released.
Yes, but like Netflix's biggest problem is we don't have any of that actual data. We don't know what those numbers actually are, so there's no way to actually gauge how truly successful those things are. So I don't think that helps in their case, really. They also did Cherry with Tom Holland, which wasn't very successful. They did 21 Bridges with Chadwick Boseman before he passed away, and that was not very good, not well received critically or commercially.
It did quite well, but no, it wasn't a very good film. It basically had popularity off the back of Black Panther, didn't it?
Yeah, and it did well enough. It didn't do like super well. It didn't do well enough for them to get a big old budget for the Citadel, I don't think, because that's closer to the type of medium that they were going for than what they did with Marvel. So I don't necessarily think that budget makes sense. And you know, that's kind of the whole film industry right now. We've talked about this a lot with Fast X, Transformers, and another slew of movies that have just come out over Flash, Indiana Jones. We need to rein in these budgets, and I think Selke is going to be one of the people that starts to do that heavily, which is good for the company. They need to have business people in charge, but that business person needs to love what they're doing as well.
And I mean, you could argue with the Citadel, I think that a proper business person would, yes, greenlight it, but then kept an eye on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It does seem that Amazon trust the creators, which is a good thing. But people have actually argued the Rings of Power problem was that they hired a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they basically learned on the job.
Yeah.
And they've come out since this first season and go, oh, we learned so much. We're going to change this. We're going to do this. In the second season, we're going to make it a bit more interesting. We're going to make it more exciting and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yeah, that's too much money to be learning on the job with. They should have given it a job first. You know, it's like, but I like that they trust the creators is the point, but maybe they need to do that a little bit less. Actually, I think there is a happy balance because Batman, the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton, right, was made by Tim Burton, who I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with. So I love some stuff he's done, and I hate others. I actually think it's the perfect example, though, of the good and bad of Tim Burton. That the first Batman movie, Tim Burton wasn't massively famous. He'd done Edward Scissorhands, and that was about it. And he was watched by the executives and producers got involved, and we got an amazing Batman movie with a bit of Tim Burton in. The second movie, because it was the most popular movie ever made at that point, they trusted Tim, and Tim Burton made Batman 2 or Returns. Was it Batman Returns?
Batman Returns.
And it is not as good. It is a big chunk of Tim Burton. And a more modern example of that, Thor Ragnarok.
Well, I was just about to say, Feige is that kind of like perfect medium most of the time. Phase 1 and Phase 2, it just MCU, it felt like his hand was maybe a little too heavy on a lot of things. But then you get into 2014 through 2019, and that's just, he trusted people, invited new people in. He invited the Russo brothers from Community to do Winter Soldier and Civil War, two of the biggest things possible. And those are two of the greatest comic book movies I think we've ever gotten. Winter Soldier might still be my favorite Marvel film. We got Guardians of the Galaxy that same year because he decided, hey, let me trust James Gunn, this guy that makes quirky little independent superhero movies or quirky independent horror movies. Let's see what he does. And then Taika Waititi 2 years later with Thor Ragnarok, excellent, and so on and so forth in that little time period.
With that, it was a bit of Taika, but I actually think Kevin Feige and producers, it's not just Kevin, but producers around him, drew him in, stopped him going nuts, but then he was trusted, so they went, Taika, brilliant job, you're a genius, go for it, and we got Love and Thunder. which is balls deep. Taika Waititi, excuse my French, but you think, and it's a bad film because of it. I think Taika Waititi, Tim Burton, and others, that there's some of those directors, they need a team around them. They need to be told no sometimes, and and it's not good when they don't. They're too creative. They're too much. They're too this. They go overboard. Let's do this. Let's do that. Get they overexcited, and then they lose the vision of what they're trying to do.
Well, that's something that I felt been wrong with Hollywood for a long time, is that people are either and part of it, we're not going to get political at all, but people either tend to fully focus on one thing or not focus on another and say, oh, this is my part of my craft. I think filmmaking needs to be a lot more economical in Hollywood. I think from the writer's room up to the actual studio executives, there's because the only people that actually care about the economics of the film tend to be your big producers that are doing the bad things, or your directors, or your big studio execs. Screw all of that. The writers need to be economical. Like, hey, this is how we want to shoot it, or this is how we want to present this to somebody to shoot it. Yeah. If we know we're going to shoot it in the medium, like Mandalorian shoots, like all these Star Wars projects or something like that, then let's write the series for something that fits that, instead of trying to make it so huge and grandiose or something like that. Or let's do what's necessary per the script, per the narrative. It's gotten so uneconomical in the sense, the writer's room is so far away from the executives. Like to talk to the person actually funding your film that you're writing, you might have to talk to about 10, 12, 15 people before you can actually get to that person sometimes.
Yeah.
That ain't right. You should all be on the same page
all the way through, yeah. I mean, I've become aware of that talking to certain sources that I've got to that work at MGM and what have you, and they were saying that the one company they work for a marketing company, and they're saying they've had multiple meetings. They've had a couple of meetings over Stargate and things like this as well, saying they ask for their advice, and Star Trek, they ask for their advice on how should we do this, how should we present this, how would people react to this. And the person I speak to regularly, they're saying you never see the same person twice. You never see this. It's a different executive in charge of something else, and you never see the same person twice. And sometimes you're like, oh, can I actually just speak to somebody that's in charge?
Yeah.
And it's just like, and they never know who that is.
There's not a continuous conversation. It's just a pick up, and then you have all these different puzzle pieces, and that's how you make a film. Where it's just, I think you need to have that full outline from the get-go, and not just the outline of the script and what you want to look like on set, not have your shot list prepared and all that. You need all that, but it needs to have a coherence from the writer's room to the funding, to the financing.
To drag this back to Star Wars before we go, because I've got to go and cook tea for my children, the ungrateful little sods. They won't even thank me, damn it. But I have to go do that. So Brad Wright, when he wrote the first Stargate, and we'll drag this back to Stargate because it's behind me. Basically, the first time Amazon apparently were raising concerns about Brad Wright's script. Excuse me, because the rumor is Amazon were always going to be the customer for the new Stargate franchise. When MGM was still MGM, they were the ones that approached them and said, look, we would love a Stargate series and we will be the customer. And that's why they then went to Brad and said, we would love you to produce a script. Apparently, during the then development stage, that information was then being shared back with Amazon as the potential customer secretly, because nobody was supposed to know that they were going to be the potential customer, because they were thinking about bidding. So there was a bit of, argy-bargy going on. But anyway, so they kept being, apparently Amazon were telling MGM, go bigger, go bigger. It's too conformed. It's too, it's too limited. We want bigger, we want grand. And that was always their biggest complaint with Brad Wright's idea for how to kickstart the franchise. I think Brad Wright was thinking MGM, what's doable, and Amazon were thinking tentpole franchise. We want big. Now Amazon are probably looking back and thinking, you know what, Brad Wright's script wasn't that bad. Let's maybe have a think about that, because they seem to have gone from 3 years ago, $250 million, $500 million, whatever, on a project, and now all of a sudden they're thinking, now we need to be spending less than $10 million an episode. You know, a series cannot cost $250 million anymore. It's got, you know, our big projects need to be $100 million and no more than that, you know. And if that's the true, then Kerry's got the point there. Go and sign the petition. There should be a link in the description, but if there isn't, I'll add it later. I haven't looked for a while, but we were on about just under 4,000 names for that. Nice. So we need to push on to that again, because now, you know, we were looking at things that once this is announced, Brad Wright can't be involved. Now it looks like this might not get announced for months. I have a fear. I have a fear now. When he told me it's a clean slate and that this is don't put money on anything.
Don't say what you. I'm worried about what you're about to say, and don't put it out there.
No, he's not. He did not say this to me, but I think this is what he was implying. Stargate is going to be an expensive project. It is.
Yes.
If I'm Amazon and I'm thinking we've got to cut spending, we've got to do blah blah blah. Do you look at Stargate and think, not just yet?
Oh no! Oh, okay. That went completely. I thought you were going to say. I don't even want to say the words.
I have another option.
I have another hard option. Breathe. Yeah. I don't even want to put that. I thought that's where you were going. I was like, no.
I was gonna come back to the hard reboot option.
That's worse than Voldemort right there. That's.
I would rather a hard reboot than nothing.
But like we were discussing yesterday, I think Stargate has the potential to be worth more than James Bond for Amazon. Just with the array of things they have and the capability of a fan base already baked in and built in that large, they could do a lot with it. So I don't think it's something that they're going to let sit. I just don't think it's something that they'd let sit. Simply put, if they do kind of course correct and change courses, hey, that Brad Wright script, it's waiting. But I think they'd go with something cheaper instead of going with something huge. But that could also push us into you're gonna have to remind me his name, the guy that runs MGM Plus, because he wants the cheaper Stargate over there.
That was something I said on your video yesterday, that there will be clips from appearing on our channel to try and get you some more customers. But I did hear, and this is firmly in the rumor category, and I don't want anyone to say to me, rumor. But apparently somebody I spoke to somebody else. So this is why you've got to take it with a massive grain of salt. I mean, I would take a handful of salt and throw it over your shoulder. But apparently Steve Wright came back from a meeting with Jennifer Salke about 2 weeks ago, and came in, yelled at somebody because they were in his way, and then kicked a bin across the room. And the rumor was that meeting was about Stargate and something else. There was another project as well that was being talked about, but mainly it was about Stargate. Mike Wright, Steve Wright. Oh, it's getting mixed up because there was a radio presenter over here called Mike Wright. I think it's Steve Wright, isn't it? But he desperately wants Stargate for MGM Plus because he's in charge of MGM Plus. That's his thing. He wants that channel to do well, and he knows Stargate on MGM Plus would be good for MGM Plus. You can't argue with his thinking. I don't care if they put it MGM Plus in America and put it on Prime the rest of the world. I'd be fine with that because I live in the rest of the world. But you know, it's just.
Is the largest Stargate audience still in the U.S. though, or is it?
Yeah, but I don't care about the audience, and I care about me being able to watch it.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking of an executive's mindset, you know?
He's just thinking that would be a massive draw to MGM Plus. I mean, if they get Stargate, everyone's going to be talking about MGM Plus for 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be huge for them. It'd be their way biggest thing. No, they do Billy the Kid. Good show, actually. I have seen it. but nobody's talking about it. You know, it's not really doing anything for the channel. They need something people are going to talk about. So then when Michael Wright gets told it's not going to MGM Plus, which is, I imagine, what the conversation, how the Magic Race went, in my opinion, I'm spitballing, but, you know, I can imagine that he came back and kicked a bin across the room because he's thinking, MGM Plus is my thing. I'm in charge of this and I'm not going to get it. I did also wonder, though, was Freevee, was he told actually that Stargate was going on Freevee? Because that would have annoyed me if I was him.
Well, is it already on Freevee?
We got an announcement about a week after that Stargate's going to be appearing on Freevee. It's not at the moment. It was. I don't think it is. It's not here anyway. I haven't checked that, to be honest. But we got an announcement about a week after that it's going. They're getting a Freevee channel, for a few Freevee channels for Stargate. So
that's right.
Anyway, let's just get it done already. Damn it! Too many false starts. Too many.
Come on.
Things, you know. We got this news about Amanda Tapping potentially saying that thing in the week and turned out not to be true. Just going to throw this past you because I'm going into conspiracy theory here. This was shared by a couple of people. Okay. And I'm not going to say I believe this, but rumor has it that basically they came out. I did a video about that, and I believe I'm the only person that put the video out, but it did get people talking about it. That Amanda Tapping had said that she'd been approached about doing this thing. It turns out the source, the very nice subscriber that saw it just misheard, I think. Apparently it's a joke, she says sometimes. And I think the subscriber just misunderstood that it was a joke. Told me, and I put it out there in good faith, because I've been told repeatedly that Amanda Tapping has been approached. If Amanda Tapping, though, has been approached and she's signed an NDA, right? And then some idiot accidentally says that she told people in a big room full of thousands of people that she'd been approached. Would that maybe explain why her and the Comic-Con involved very quickly released a statement saying that it wasn't true? Am I having 2 and 2 and adding 6 there, or am I thinking that maybe makes sense?
No, it kind of makes sense. It makes sense.
Because if it was me, I would ignore the stupid little sidetrack channel that has said that she said that, and I would ignore it. But they obviously chose not to because, you know, they felt they had to. And I'm just wondering, hey, conspiracy theory. I used to do a conspiracy channel, so shoot me.
Well, that makes me think also conspiracy still. A rumor has it down here. Not really. But if you know people like, you know, I was watching Beef. I have one episode left of Beef, and one of my favorite little lines is I don't remember who says it. Is one of the main two characters. It's either Ali Wong or Stephen Young's character, and they say exactly what they've done. They're like, oh yeah, I'm doing this road rage. I've done this, and this. Yeah. And then it's like they say it sarcastically though, so nobody in the room believes them. And you know, we all know people that have done that a thousand times. Oh yeah, I backed into your car out front, and you're like,
big dent.
You're like, no, you didn't. And it's like, oh no, I didn't. You go back out there, there's a freaking dent in your car. You're like, oh great, you know. Yeah. But it's someone saying something that is true, but in a sarcastic way, so then it kind of takes you off of their trail a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That may be a little bit of what's happening, I guess, but that's just complete speculation, of course. But I know that's what I do if I'm in that kind of situation. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't smoke those 2 joints and walk and wander this way and I'm supposed to be giving like a speech right now or something. Not at all. And then, you know, right after I start having a conversation with people that are like, your eyes are red as hell. I'm like, you know,
I don't know what you mean. Have anybody got any cookies? I really need some food, some Pringles or something. But yeah, I just think, hey, it's a possibility. But like I say, as far as I'm concerned, I removed the video because the video is false. It's incorrect. She did not say that. But to be honest, it now makes me more convinced that it's actually true.
In a way.
Because the way they reacted to it, the way it was, the reaction to it makes me think like, But that's maybe just my cynical mind, and the fact that I know an agent that actually says it's true. So we'll see.
What? Let's do it. I'm just waiting. I'm just patiently, or not so patiently waiting. I'm trying to patiently wait.
Hey, we're going to keep talking about it. We're going to keep having some fun with it. We're going to keep, doing a bit of silliness. I got to do another health and safety guy video, and I need to think of how to do it. But it's we'll keep talking because people want to listen, and if you don't want to listen to it, go away. Don't comment. Don't bring me long essays about why I'm an evil person. I shouldn't be making money off a channel talking about something I love.
But if you do, they need to be at least 4-paragraph, double space, MMA format, and it should be signed cordially, of course.
Yes, obviously.
Of course.
With maximum respect, you lying bastard, which is one thing I did get called. And anyway, I have to laugh about it. It just makes me giggle now.
It's pretty funny. I constantly chuckle, but it makes
nothing you have ever said has been right. So I listed stuff I've said that's right. And they're like, yeah, but other than that,
you're like, that's 70% of it. Like,
yeah, and the other stuff is just not been released. But anyway,
yeah, exactly.
Twice I've got stuff wrong. Twice, damn it, in 2 years.
That's the best track record, maybe out of any
rumor. Was a source making a genuine mistake, an honest, genuine mistake. The first one, I've told you about the Brad Wright one, haven't I? Oh God, that killed me. When Brad Wright actually texted me to go, that's not true. Yeah. So there's a bunch of meetings about him at MGM, and then the security guard, I can say it was a security guard now because he stopped talking to me after it, said, I've just seen him, he's here, he's in the building. So I went, he's there, he's talking, he's at MGM, and Brad Wright himself went, no, I'm not.
It was just another dude with white hair walking through the hallway, right?
He's wearing a damn mask. I was just like, did you just see a big guy with grey hair walk through this? And he was just like, I thought it was Brad. What you
like, did you look at a picture of Brad Wright first? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's just 2 times wrong on a rumor channel. I'm doing okay when I talk about rumors and stuff, so I'm doing okay. Anyway, not that some people see that, but I don't really give a shit.
Not too shabby.
I used to really care, though. I tell you what, I was talking to a guy off the Shuttle Pod show. It's actually live. The video's gone live.
I thought it was tomorrow. I thought it was set for the 14th.
Today and tomorrow. So the video's on. So if you can get off here, go straight watch that interview. It's an hour long, but he's brilliant. He's so funny.
I may have already watched half an hour. It's excellent, y'all.
Yeah, so you have to watch this. I had to edit it down a little bit now, except I did realize I've not edited it. At one point, he goes off and gets himself a drink, and you just sit me. You can see me watching my phone, and I haven't edited it out. I've left it in. But anyway, so yeah. What was I saying? But yeah, he was talking about that, and the crap they get, and they're not a controversial channel. They don't say anything controversial, really. They just talk like friends, and he's saying they get loads of shit. And I was like, well, I'm glad it's not just me.
Well, they did get a little controversial with David Blue talking about the SGU, SGA stuff, and then Flanagan coming in with the other end of the spectrum there. Not truly controversial. It's just good to see the different perspectives from
the stuff they got crap over was they were chatting about guns.
Oh, that's right. I'm from Texas. I'm from the swamp. That's the last thing I worry about.
Well, Joe Flanagan grew up with guns, and Conor Trinia did, and Mark was talking about how he's got guns and his kid's got a gun, and they just grew up with guns, but they're trying to be responsible gun owners by the sounds of it. No wandering around just fully loaded, none of that nonsense.
Of course,
not in the militia or anything. But they got crap from both sides because the gun nuts were going. You weren't thinking enough. You should have been like, you should have put your guns on with you, or something. Clean the weapon on air. And they went nuts. But then the other side of the argument, they went nuts, saying you're promoting gun crime. You kill babies. And they're just like, we were just chatting. But the one funny thing in the video is go and listen to the bit where he talks about the avocado tree. It's hilarious. It's so funny.
From your video, or
he talks about it on my video, yeah. But they've got an avocado tree. And that has caused a lot of controversy. I personally would mock them for owning an avocado tree.
Oh, there's an avocado tree 4 feet away from me right now, and I'm about to make the best damn guacamole you might ever see in your life today. So avocado trees are amazing.
You've lowered your expectation. I'm just thinking, oh my god. But I'm British. We didn't even know what avocado was until about like 5 years ago.
That's a good point.
So we were just like, what?
And any avocado y'all have probably doesn't get that good of flavor. Y'all get like the mild guacamoles if you get anything.
Yeah, we get a little bit of spicy guacamole, but not much. Not much, no. But we don't get fresh guacamole all that much. I knew what guacamole was. I didn't know what it came from until I was about 30 years old. I was like, "Comes from this little green thing. What the hell?" And then my girlfriend at the time really decided she likes guacamole. Likes avocado, and I started to like do avocado on toast, and I would make it for her and go, "What is this slimy green crap?" And she was like, "You like guacamole, so you like avocados." And I was like, "I like guacamole. What the hell has that got to do with avocados?" He's like, "It's because that's what it's made out of." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I don't know."
Oh, that makes sense.
But I'm a man. Yeah, so I took a girl on a date once though, and I decided to be a vegetarian once when I was a little boy. So my dad had just spent a lot of money on some gammon, so he told me it was a fish, and I'm not eating this fish, this gammon, thinking, yum, this is the nicest fish. And I know it's meaty, but I thought it was like tuna or something. It's like a meaty fish. But then my dad never told me, he'd lied to me. So years later, I took this girl out on a date, and we're at a meal, and she went, "I'm a vegetarian, but I do eat fish." And I'm like, "Don't worry then, darling. I'll order you the gammon." And she was like, "Why?" And weirdly, that girl still went out with me for like a year.
That reminds me of my big fat Greek wedding when the mom's like, I think whoever says, "Well, I'm a vegetarian," and the mom's like, "Oh, we'll give you lamb."
Yeah. It's like the ultimate non-vegetarian. So not just meat, baby meat.
But of course. And it's so good. It's so good.
Right.
Guacamole and avocados are disgusting. Oh, I need to make y'all some guacamole.
Next year, sir. So when we're going to do a Comic-Con and it's good, make us some guacamole.
You have barbecue and guacamole.
I'm cooking with Harris.
It's going to be great.
Stop smoking weed, for fuck's sake.
Well, you have to get baked prior to baking. Or you know what I
mean. Right, guys, thank you so much. Everybody in the that's been listening in the comments, you are absolute legends. Thank you so much. The couple of guys that contributed to the channel as well, you are legends. Thank you so much. It really helps us. It lets us, just you see, baby. It really helps us to do more content, and my wife lets me because I pay for stuff now off the channel. YouTube pay for it. And it helps me to help others as well. So we do get to give a nice little bit of money to charity. That guy was having a go at me for how much money I went. I told him how much money I've given to charity in the last 18 months, and really weirdly, he didn't mention money again after that.
Oh, wonder why.
I don't know.
Speaking of charities, Jay has mentioned he will give a little bit. If you can get somebody from Stargate or anybody cool, send it our way, and he'll donate to a little charity, a small lump sum of 30 billion quid. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't have 30 billion quid unless it's in like yen or something. I can do it in yen.
Oh, okay.
Probably. But I will. Yeah, I will give that one. So yeah, I mean, I just think like this is a hobby for me. I need to earn a little bit of money off it so I can actually do it, and my wife will let me. But the fact that we can give a little bit of help to these little charities and things, I think it's amazing. I absolutely love it. And,
it makes it worth it more so than just the fun hobby aspect of it. It adds another level to it. It's just rewarding. It's cool.
And I never mentioned it for like 18 months because I felt like a bit of a dick. And then I just thought, you know what? No, bollocks to it, because it's not me really that's doing it. It's you guys. You guys come on here and you watch our stupid little channel, and you make donations like that, and it allows us to do something that amazing. And I'm thinking, no, actually, what bollocks to it? I'm going to shout it from the rooftops. I'm proud of it. I'm really proud that we get to do that. So
it's amazing. Yeah.
Love it. Right. Thank you so much, Harris, for jumping on last minute as well, because I only decided to do it 30 minutes before we went live. But thank you so much, everyone in the chat. Like I said, we will catch you Sunday, and I'm certain we will probably be discussing a few of these topics again.
We shall.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let me just find the outro, and then we'll see you next week. See you Sunday.
Of course.